Our next speaker is from the automotive industry, Mr. Avik Chattopadhyay. Presently is marketing head for Volkswagen in India. He comes armed with 21 years of experience in the automotive industry and has worked across functions, across responsibilities, across nationalities and across market borders with startups and with leaders. In his current role, he looks after marketing, product planning and press relations functions for Volkswagen passenger cars in India. I'd like to invite him forward, and he's now going to open his talk as to how digital marketing is at a crossroads and whether brands should now invest in content or should they increase their spend on paid efforts. Here he comes.
Good afternoon, everyone. When RP asked me whether I would like to share my views and my experiences on this platform, it was really, I guess it was really a proud moment for me. Not so much for sharing my experiences, but more so of possibly having this platform where I could share more, let's say, our anxieties in the world of manufacturing, to seek more from all of you gathered here as to how this entire world of digital content creation, constant connectivity with customers could be used more effectively. And very frankly, the industry I come from, the automotive industry, could actually wake up to it. So I take this as a chance where I share my concerns. And I seek from you. So in that context, very frankly, as we are here today, the world is, as I say, it's more emotionally fragile than ever. All of us are going through it. And when I say fragile, I mean the word fragile. We are a very, very fragile race at this point of time. You could take it positively or negatively. You could take it as potential, or you could take it as a problem that we suffer from. But the thing is that the world that we have around us, for us specifically in the automotive industry, or let's say the manufacturing industry, the world around us is changing much faster than possibly what we would like it to. For the last 125 years, very frankly, we've been making cars the same way. Okay, cars still have 4 wheels, right? I mean, cars don't levitate as yet. Okay, cars don't float as yet. Okay, cars are not working on magnets as some Hollywood movies would like to have them. They're still made traditionally the same way. I mean, it's been many years since the automotive industry really came out with some breakthrough. I guess ABS was one, hybrid technologies is another. But then something that really makes a difference to the population at large, given the nature of the industry where we are in, we always end up grappling with that. The other issue is, I dare say, we suffer from an amazing level of arrogance. Okay, we think that making cars, we're doing a great amount of good to mankind. Okay, I'm making a car for you, I'm delivering the car to you, you're buying my car, you're doing a great level of service to me. Okay, because the car is always something that is aspirational. The car is always something that's a high-ticket item. It's a big investment, specifically in the Indian context. So the way I sell it to you, the way I service it for you, there is a level of patronizing that I do. Now that's got to change somewhere. That's got to change sometime. And when RP came back and said that, are you guys at the crossroads? I said, yes, we are at the crossroads. Even in the Indian automotive industry, we are at the crossroads. Because as I said, the consumer that I sell to, for example, I sell to any and every one of you, The rest of your world has changed over the last 15 years. What you use, how you communicate, what you like, what you don't, what you read, what you discard, everything has changed. And is changing every second, or as somebody said, every 30 millionth nanosecond or something. But what I offer to you, given all the hard-earned money that you put up for it, is still physically, and I would say in terms of sensory perceptions, almost the same. That's because somewhere, possibly I fail to understand and recognize, or it's more, I think, recognize, that it is the man and the woman on the street that owns the brand and not me. I'm just taking care of the brand for the man and the woman on the street. It's not in the boardrooms. And the quicker we as an industry actually accept that fact and work accordingly, I guess we would possibly be in a position to change the very experience. When we talked about experiential marketing earlier, we would be able to change the experience of vehicle ownership in this country, and I'm sure elsewhere. In that context, the content or what's written about us, what's written about the product or the service that we sell, that we market, has to be media agnostic. In fact, I like the little mnemonics here. I mean, there's a coffee mug, there's a pen, there's a microphone. And we're actually talking about digital marketing. Okay? Subliminally, somewhere in our mind, these are all symbols of creation, discussion, amplification. So while the world is wireless, but for us, symbolically, these are omnipresent. Therefore, the platforms that we use to create content cannot be anywhere divided or siloed by any specific media or any specific, or say like digital or news or print or electronic or on-ground, anything of that sort. It's got to be seamless. And for us, it has to be seamless, given the nature of the product and the service that we offer our customers. It has to be seamless. Paid media is a thing of the past. So, actually, RP, there's no debate. There's really no debate of whether you should invest in creating content or whether you should invest in paid media. Yes, the automotive media thrives on the fact that it is the automotive media, and there will be an X number of people who will always be waiting for the next issue of Autocar or the next supplement to come out in the Times of India to read about the new cars. But as I said, we are in a fragile world. People are suspect. People are skeptics. They know what you pay for, and they know what's actually reality. And the realities actually come in what I really call, the people's media, which is through blogging, which is through, whatever you have, your Twitters and Facebooks and this and that and whatever. But there is a parallel active community that's actually saying, I want to write what is real, and I want to share that with people, and I want to create opinion based on that. I also want to get feedback based on that, versus paid media. So paid media is gone. We still suffer from this obsession of pandering to a certain kind of media, spending a lot of time with them, ensuring that there are good reviews. In the first half of the session, I heard a couple of speakers using the word how to control, how to manage. I guess we don't need to control, we don't need to manage. If we do our basic task properly, and it cannot always be perfect, there will be imperfections, but as long as the consumer at the end of the day sees me as sincere and making an effort, quite frankly, we don't need paid media anymore. At least in the automotive industry, we should not focus so much on the paid media. I don't know about the other manufacturing sectors, but I've spent a few years in the oil industry. And in the oil industry, paid media is a huge thing. Because all oil companies are big and bad. And all oil companies are polluting some part of the world or another. or they're toppling some government or the other, okay, or they're instigating some war in some part of the world to build another pipeline. Therefore, in the oil industry, paid media was a huge thing. But there have been huge cases of backfire. And that backfire hasn't helped them at all. For those who know, BP is a great example of how trying to obsessively control the media backfired on them. Exxon, the Exxon Valdez fiasco was a great example. Again, of how taking the media for granted, taking people for granted, taking public opinion for granted can actually have its pitfalls. And in that context, when you don't have any paid media, so what you really need to work on is a relentless compulsion towards just allowing content to be created. Just let it flow. Just let it happen. I'm not here to talk about what Volkswagen's done. Volkswagen's done a lot of interesting stuff across the world. We've tried some things in this country since we've been here over the last 6 years. But more than what we've done, we've learned much more. And if we learn every day and if we act on that, and that actually helps in creating a better consumer experience, that to us is far, far more valuable in the form of the sheer compulsiveness of the content being allowed to be created. And there, what I really propose is there should be no controls. There should be no attempt to manage. There should be no function in an organization which should basically say, how are you going to manage press relations? How are you going to manage public relations? It's just, how are you going to ensure greater empathy? That is what is required. In the automotive industry, that's what's really required in the manufacturing industry. And the only way to create greater empathy is by actually allowing free content. And that content is, as I again said, is media agnostic. It can be from anywhere, it can be from any source, it can be from a ground level event or an activation that we may do at a condominium, right up to somebody blasting us on Twitter and Facebook and trying to create pressure on as to why don't we service our vehicles better. So that requires us, very frankly, to stop living others' lives. I've felt that in my experience, and that's where we seek the expertise of people like you, okay, who are not bound by convention, who are not bound by tradition, who are not bound by certain X, Y, Z ways of actually doing business and conducting business, as to how you can actually help brands to live their own lives and stop living others' lives. We are obsessed with others. I want to be like that guy wants to be like me, the third person wants to be like somebody else. And in that we end up forgetting as to what we are ourselves all about. We need to live our own lives, and to live our own lives we need to have and we need to express a level of candor. We've already talked about consistency earlier. A lot of you have spoken about consistency, and that's extremely important. Because consistency leads to relevance, but relevance also has a shelf life. That relevance always needs to be recreated, revisited, refurbished, reignited, whatever. And whatever we do, there needs to be a level of confidence and credibility, and that builds credibility. That builds long-term credibility. In the automotive industry, for all of you, most of you are Indians, so you would know as to what a Maruti Suzuki stands for. You know what a Bajaj stands for. And I'm taking specific examples from the automotive industry. You know what a Hero stands for. That explains for us to why there are 50 million users of Hero Honda / Hero products across the country. That explains to why there are more than 2.5 million Bajaj three-wheelers running all over the country, and we just call them the auto. It is that level of credibility, because these brands, whether they are the mother brand or whether they are product brands, have actually led their own lives. They've had no pretensions. They haven't gone all over the place. And what I call is their consistency of their content. Yes, today Bajaj is adding a fourth wheel to the three-wheeler, but they still call it the auto. And they're adding the fourth wheel because that's where I said relevance has a shelf life. They've realized that the auto needs to be improved upon. The auto needs to be safer. The auto has to have 4 doors. The auto has to be more comfortable. So there is a level of consistency even in the content. The Maruti 800, yes, last night it was inducted into the Hall of Fame at the CNBC TV 18 Overdrive Awards. It's ubiquitous to, I mean, you talk about India's progress, you talk about the Maruti 800. You talk about India's awakening, post-independence, you talk about the Maruti 800. It may be discontinued in a few years from now, but that doesn't matter. It's played its role the way possibly the Volkswagen Beetle did at a point of time. Today it's a luxury car, for God's sake. But there was a point of time when it was the people's car, and that was the Volkswagen. Because at the end of the day, I run a business. And I'm doing all this purely from the business perspective. And why? And what's important for me in my business is what, I mean, I've created this little circle here, which I call, the circle of what I say is fatigue. You start off with something new, there's a level of fascination. It's new. I'm excited. The consumer's excited. Then it moves into familiarity. You actually want more and more people to experience it. You want more and more people to buy into it, to be a part of it, and that's familiarity. But then sets in fatigue. And that's what I fear the most. Because, quite frankly, in my industry, when I'm bringing in a new product, say if I bring in a new four-wheeler, I need to make an investment of between 700 to 800 crores of rupees for a grounds-up project. For those who may know, I mean, Isuzu's just entered the country, okay, and they're setting up a plant of 3,000 crores. So we're not talking about small levels of money here. Okay, it's close to 600, 700 million euros of investment. So there I would like to basically stretch the fascination to as much as possible. And I would like to reduce the level of fatigue to as little. Because my fear of failure is so high that every time I fail, I bleed. The industry is such. My business is such. And herein lies actually the power of content. Because I may not always be able to come up with a new product. I may not always be able to come up with a new solution. But what I would be able to do is to continue my relevance with my consumers. And that I would do only through content. Where I actually allow my consumers to freely create content. And I help co-create the content with them and keep my product and my relevance alive in the marketplace. Because I want to reduce that level of fatigue to as little as possible. I know it is inevitable. I mean, it's happened to the Maruti 800. It's happened to the Bajaj Chetak. It's happened to the Hero Jet, the black-colored bicycle. Products which people thought would never die. But they've also reached their levels of fatigue. But for me as a business person, my objective is how do I stretch this loop of fascination and familiarity as much as possible. And to me, that's where I'm at the crossroads today. And that's where I share my concerns with all of you. That all of you need to come forward, okay, and very frankly help us as an industry. in waking up and recognizing that the man and the woman on the street is actually the owner of the brand. And we need to basically act as facilitators to creating a better consumer experience. And digital content or content in whichever form and shape and type is most welcome. In fact, helps enhance the content of what I offer, the overall offer that I make to the consumer. And to me, there is no debate on whether paid media needs to be invested on. Paid media is a thing of the past. We don't believe in it. If you don't believe in it as a consumer, I dare not ever try to do it as a service provider or as a solutions provider. And that's where I rest my talk before all of you. I thought I would take this actually as a platform to share my concerns with all of you, more than my experiences, and definitely over a period of time. All of you are welcome to basically to share your views and your ideas on how the automobile industry could get definitely a bit more, let's say, in sync with the lives that we lead. Thank you.